What's up, my boomers? It's me, Melanie Mac, here on my new channel, Melanie Mac Go Boom. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. So, I want to talk about Elden Ring just because, first of all, I'm pretty stoked to start playing this tonight on my Melanie Mac channel. So, youtube.com/Melanie Mac. If you do not follow me there and you would like to watch me play, please do. I watched my brother play some over the weekend. I was trying to avoid spoilers and wasn't going to initially, but I just couldn't help myself. It looks so freaking good. And he's pretty far into it, so I'm going to be able to hop in initially without knowing whatever goes on at the beginning. So, mostly playing blind, just apart from a few hours I've seen him play later on. So that was funny too, because our mom was into it, man. She was backseat gaming the whole time. It was hilarious. So now she's like, tell your dad to get this game. Tell your dad to get this game because I want to watch him play. So it was funny. So anyway, yeah, the big Elden Ring kick. Now some of y'all may know of this, but some devs were throwing some shade at Elden Ring, which to me is so not classy. It's just not classy to do. Now, okay, first of all, let me get to a tweet that I made and then I'll get into that. Whenever I watch the gameplay, whenever I've been seeing all the headlines and all that kind of stuff, and then not to mention the fact that over the past years and years now, a lot of the mainstream have complained, like your casual gamers, your mainstream gamers, the ones who aren't necessarily that hardcore and weren't in it that long, especially like lifelong, like some of us have, they always complain that there's no easy mode and that it should be accessible and every game needs an easy mode, that sort of thing. And so Soulsborne games are always brought up in this kind of discussion, and some people get really salty about it, that the fact that, hey, it's not for everybody and that there is some challenge to be had there. So we keep seeing a lot of games cater to the mainstream, and I'm a huge, massive Tomb Raider fan, and I'm a big fan of classic Tomb Raider. And so seeing ever since Legend Onward, and even though I like the aesthetic of Legend Onward, they really babied down the game, because classic Tomb Raider was notoriously difficult, especially like Tomb Raider 3, Tomb Raider 4, ridiculously, extremely difficult. And I love that. They didn't hold your hand. They didn't have prompts. The puzzles actually offered challenge. And, in terms of combat, that wasn't where the challenge mostly lied. Now, there were some situations where it did, but it was mostly in the puzzles and in the exploration and trying to find locations where you use a key or some sort of artifact to progress. And I love that it just drops you in. It doesn't hold your hand, okay? And not to mention the controls. Now, a lot of people complain about the controls. Man, I could make a whole video about this, but the thing is the controls played such a massive role in the actual gameplay, because if you just have an auto grab or something like that, like they do now, it completely changes the dynamic of classic Tomb Raider. And part of Tomb Raider's challenge was learning how to maneuver certain obstacles and to traverse the landscape. That was like a puzzle in itself, saying, okay, I'm going to slide here. I can grab onto that ledge. I need to do a running jump here. You have to like calculate your moves. And so, yeah, I've been complaining about that a lot. So, unfortunately, Tomb Raider has catered to the mainstream. With Legend, it babied it down, made it extremely easy. And then, of course, with the reboot, with the combat and all that. So, I feel like us hardcore fans who've been there since the first game, or within the classic era in general, we've been left in the dust, and they don't care about us anymore. They care about pleasing the mainstream and making very easy games with, pretty pictures, essentially. So I made this tweet and I said, Elden Ring is the perfect example of pleasing their actual fans instead of folding to the mainstream. More franchises need to take notes. And now, of course, I was being a little subtweety about Tomb Raider on this, but I think I speak for more than just that, is that one thing that people constantly say when they talk about Tomb Raider is, oh, that wouldn't work now. That wouldn't work now. I mean, like, this is a niche. People don't want games that are too difficult now. I mean, come on. Look how well Elden Ring is performing. So I want to go down to a comment here that Steph said. She's also a really big classic Tomb Raider fan. She made some great points. She says, it's also a perfect example of old school game design and direction, and how, yes, it still works today. In a world where, this mechanic is dated and won't work for modern standards, dumbs everything down, FromSoft says a big F you and breaks the norm. And she just said this so beautifully. I 1000% agree. And then I also want to scroll down here because then some people are like, what do you mean? The FromSoft games are for the mainstream, blah, 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 blah. This comment that is what I really think makes a lot of sense in this situation. And Yakuza says, FromSoft is actually making the mainstream fold to them, LMAO. And that's exactly true. They make the games they want to play, or they want to make. And, FromSoft games are, mainstream in a sense that, they have reached a big audience. But FromSoft doesn't cater to mainstream, cater to the lowest common denominator of let's give a very easy experience with walking simulator practically and cutscenes every 2 seconds. Okay, that's like what is we're constantly seeing in AAA games for the mainstream, and that's why I don't play that many AAA games anymore, because I'm sick of it. It's boring. Why would I would just watch a movie. I want a game that actually has good game mechanics. This is why I think that PlayStation 2 era, especially, or even PS3 era, and PS1 era, obviously, with like classic Tomb Raider and stuff, and before, anything before, honestly. Old school gaming before current times and all that, was better in terms of actual gameplay and games being good. Now they rely so much on fancy graphics and stories that takes over everything, when games used to have to rely on being actually fun to play. And yeah, so that's where I'm at. Now, let's kind of get into some drama here. This tweet. So this Horizon Forbidden Blake, he's a quest designer at Guerrilla Games. Now this kind of like really frustrated me because I loved Horizon Zero Dawn. I keep wanting to say Forbidden Horizon Dawn. I loved Horizon Zero Dawn. Okay, so I've been really excited to play Forbidden West after I play some Elden Ring and stuff. That's been one of my more anticipated games, but stuff like crap like this almost makes me not want to play. Or the fact that they just focus so much on all of the talking points and all that kind of stuff, and all the focus seems to be on the graphics. Oh, look, Aloy's teeth look better now. Okay, I care more about dynamic gameplay. That should be the focus. I'm still going to play it, most likely, because I did really like Zero Dawn a lot. But, I mean, I'm just saying, dude. I'm just saying. And not to mention how they changed Aloy. They made her uglier on purpose, and they took away her abs. That really frustrates me. I mean, I don't think she's ugly still. There's certain shots where she does look, not that cute. But it's just the fact that they deliberately nerfed her looks that's just frustrating. And the marketing that's gone around it, and the journalists and all the stuff they've been saying, it's really led to bad taste in my mouth. And that's why I haven't been eager to just jump right straight in like I initially was. But hey, anyway, so there was some shade thrown. The devs at Ubisoft. So apparently, I don't know which one of these are the devs, or if it's both of them or what, but they said the fact that hashtag Elden Ring scored a 97 Metacritic is proof that reviewers don't give a flaming poop about game UX. My life is a lie. And then Rebecca goes, nor PC graphics stability and performance apparently. And then the Horizon guy goes, nor quest design. Really? It's just like, dude, that's also very tacky that they're going to do that. But secondly, talk about jealousy. And Ubisoft, really? Like, they got room to talk on this? Ubisoft? Like, I know I do have a soft spot for Ubisoft. Because I am a really big fan of some of their older games, especially love Splinter Cell. And I'm an Assassin's Creed fan. Granted, I don't like all the Assassin's Creed games. But I really like especially Assassin's Creed 2. And out of current, more modern stuff, I did like Odyssey a lot. Not going to lie there. Couldn't get into Valhalla to save my life. But the thing is ultimately, yeah, this is tacky. Because Elden Ring, like Steph said earlier that I showcased, is that it really focuses so much on a good gameplay experience, and it really focuses on a lot of things that were more, old school in a way, and the fact that they're relying on good gameplay and challenging gameplay and gameplay that it's like, hey, you're not going to beat this boss on your first try for a lot of people. You're going to have to observe. You're going to have to study the patterns. You're going to have to keep trying and overcome it. And I love that. That reminds me of old school gaming. The fact that there's no like UI all over the place, on the screen. You don't need all that cluttering your screen. Your focus is just, hey, this is a good gameplay experience. You're focusing on that. It gives you what you need. And so, yeah, this was really tacky. And then this tweet I saw today. It said Ubisoft hasn't made a good game in over 10 years. How dare some of their employees critique Elden Ring? This was like a big mic drop moment. Now, I don't completely agree. I think that, like I said, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I think was good. But as a whole, this general premise I do agree with. I think that Ubisoft especially lately stick to the same like boring formula for all of their games now. And I've enjoyed like Far Cry 6 to a degree. I ended up not even finishing it though because I got so bored with that like constant talking on the headset. When I'm trying to like do stuff in the game, on an open world game especially, I want to feel immersed and I want to feel like I'm experiencing this world, right? And I don't want people talking to me the whole time. First of all, it's like sensory overload. And second of all, I want to enjoy this open world. I want to feel like I'm a part of the environment, and that just the constant chattiness, it just, I can't do it. That's why I haven't kept playing it. I'm over it. I'm done. Like when I do the side stuff, the side quest stuff, like when I was blowing up bases and all that kind of crap, then yeah, I was having more fun with it. But once I started actually progressing the story and doing more main quest stuff and having all these annoying characters, so many annoying characters, would not shut up. I was like, I'm done. And I had this complaint with Tomb Raider as well, modern Tomb Raider. It's like, when you look at classic Tomb Raider, you were like dropped in the world and you felt like you were just isolated for the most part, depending on the setting. But for most of the game, the majority of the game, you were isolated. Lara was a loner. She wasn't a team player. She did what she needed to do on her own. She's very independent, very much described in her bio as not a team player, okay? So then when Crystal Dynamics, the American studio, gets a hold of it, well, not to mention the movie when it gets into Hollywood hands, then it's like, oh, let's give her a team. Let's give her a headset. Let her talk to people. Now, granted, classic Tomb Raider did introduce the headset in one very small, specific part of Tomb Raider Chronicles where she talked to Zip and he helped her. But that was just such a very, very small part of the game, okay? And then you had Curtis and Angel Darkness, but she was reluctantly working with him because she did not like him at first. And it wasn't even throughout the whole game. It's just like tidbits, right? That they weren't even involved with each other that much. Okay, because you did play some of the game as Curtis for a very brief part, but they had like their objectives and their motivations, and then they crossed paths on occasion. But the way it is now is they do not let Lara Croft do her own thing hardly ever. She's got the headset, she's got the walkie-talkie, she's constantly talking to someone, she's bringing a companion with her all the time now. It's just, I don't like it. And then when you're trying to solve the puzzles, she's constantly talking to herself, she won't shut up, and I hate that. It's like, dude, let Lara just do her thing. She doesn't have to be chattering all the time. Classic Lara was very introverted. She's very self-motivated, and she did not play well with others. Can we get back to that, please? And when I play Elden Ring tonight, I'm making my character look like Lara Croft as close as possible because I need a true Lara Croft experience. And I made a tweet about this like years ago where I said I wanted to see a From Software experience with Tomb Raider. At this point, I would rather see basically picture like Dark Souls, but with Lara Croft as the main character. Not a lot of dialogue. Don't put a lot of cutscenes. Just throw her in and let her do her thing. And just add some puzzles, okay? That would be perfect. Look at the the creatures and all that kind of stuff, the mystical creatures, because nowadays they don't even want to do that much. They've completely gutted. They have absolutely gutted Tomb Raider from what it was and made it something totally different. It's funny because this video is titled Elden Ring, but I keep ranting about Tomb Raider, so that's kind of what I do, though. All right, so here's back on topic, so I won't like keep on my Tomb Raider rants. Talking about folding to the mainstream and all that kind of stuff, and everyone's like, oh, but it won't sell. This won't sell. We have to do this. It's bullcrap. And what I really like is Miyazaki sticking to his guns. Now, I don't like that he was apologetic about it, but at any rate, he says, I've never been a good player, so in my work, I want to answer this question. If death is meant to be more than a sign of failure, how can it be given meaning? How do you make death comfortable? My apologies to anyone who thinks there is too much to overcome in my games. I just want there to be as many players as possible who can feel the joy that comes from overcoming difficulties. Love it, love it. We're always striving to improve, but in our games in particular, difficulty is what gives meaning to this experience, to the experience. So we're not ready to give it up just yet. Hopefully never. Come on, don't fold, my guy. It's our identity. We built in trade-offs, so to make people feel like they're winning is an achievable achievement. So yeah. That... I just really hope that franchises like Tomb Raider can take notes. Even though y'all know I'm very jaded with Tomb Raider, so I don't have a lot of hope for the future of Tomb Raider. I wish I did, I really do. But knowing the hands that it's in with Crystal Dynamics and all that, dude, maybe I should make a whole video about that. Because I'm like really off topic here. But anyway, let's go ahead and go read some comments from my recent videos. Brian says, Melanie, you're probably my new favorite YouTuber. Thank you, Brian. I have been watching you for a while, but this new channel is the ish. Love to see the interaction with your subs and the messages from the Bible. My dad is technically a boomer, and I am 10 years older than you, so the kids should not get upset about being called boomers. Oh, so you're pretty nice to look at. Thank you, Brian. This just made me smile. Thank you so much for the nice words. Michael says, telling a woman to get back in the kitchen is misogyny, but women clowning on guys' D's is attacking the patriarchy. I'll stick to not playing with randoms. And I mean, this is a good point. Like, so many people either want to get butthurt on behalf of women, or there are some women themselves that want to get all butthurt over jokes about getting in the kitchen or that we can't drive and all that kind of crap. And meanwhile, they're the first ones to talk about making fun of guys' D's and calling guys small D's and like making fun of them based on whatever size they're working with or that they are implying that they're working with. And to me, that is like a million billion times more sexist than telling a woman to get in the kitchen could ever be. But you know, it's the double standards, dude. Aurelion says, the company I work for stopped hiring women discreetly because they were causing too much drama, much like this. And it's a loss for non-feminists because it's a traditional male-dominated field that pays great. And you know what? This is exactly what's going on. And it's like, if you put women in a position where we're constantly in a victimhood mindset, and we constantly want special treatment, we always want to start drama, or we always want to cause trouble, this is exactly what's going to happen. And do I blame them in this situation? Not really, because women are becoming a liability, okay? You shouldn't be a liability. People shouldn't be afraid to hire us that, we're going to have a lawsuit on our hands? Are we going to have everyone called misogynist? It's stupid. We should be blending in together. Now, obviously, there are cases where harassment happens and all that kind of stuff, and unfortunately those cases that do happen are not getting the attention that they deserve, probably because of everyone who cries wolf and everyone who wants to be a victim and all the male feminist allies who want to push us in a victimhood mindset. And whenever they do that, look what they're doing. This is why feminism hurts women more than helping them. This is one example, one of many. Is you got a situation where you constantly got women on edge thinking that everyone's misogynist, constantly looking for something to complain about, and then now we've become a liability. It's stupid. It is utterly stupid, and I'm sick of it. And they're trying to do this with everybody. They try to do this with minorities. They try to do this with women. They try to do this with disabled people. They're trying to do this with everybody. And so what do you think is going to happen when you make a certain minority group of people, depending on the field and the area you're in, and talking about workforce here, when you're constantly trying to make them feel like they're victims, and you're glorifying or rewarding any drama that anybody brings up, or whether that be pushed on them through the allies because they want to be seen as saviors, or if they're doing it, then what do you think is going to happen? This is going to constantly be a problem, and companies are going to feel like they can't hire people who cause drama. That's a liability. So seriously, this whole victimhood narrative crap's got to stop. There's actual places where women aren't respected. There's actual places, look at what happened like in other countries, where there are some places where women are treated as less than. And it's embarrassing that here in America, okay, where as a woman we have any opportunity any dude has, almost. We might not be able to play NFL football, but at the end of the day, they're able to coach and ref and stuff like that. So, those are obvious physical limitations. But just saying, for the most part, we can do anything a man can do in this country. So can we stop making problems that don't exist when there are other places where women really are oppressed? It's embarrassing. All right. Now on this comment, Noah says, I bet Sam Elliott will like Daily Wire's Terror on the Prairie, and that has a female lead. Maybe it will revive the Western. I agree. I think Terror on the Prairie, I made a video reacting to that trailer. I'm excited for that. I'm really excited for that. I love Gina. She's amazing. So that's going to be good. I'm about it. All right, let's go ahead and go to the verse of the day. I actually have two kind of that play on each other now. This is I'm speaking to a lot who are Christian, or if somebody, maybe converts and then wants to, I just feel like this is helpful. It's helpful for me and something that I've learned, so I kind of want to share it as well. So Matthew 11:28 says, come to me all who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And there's so much beauty in that. And part of the comfort for me of being a Christian is that I know that whatever I go through, I always have God there for me. And my life isn't always going to be perfect, but there's a lot of comfort that I have in God and in Christ and all that. And I really wanted to talk about this because I think for a lot of Christians, it can be, we can feel sometimes like God isn't there, and that God is quiet, and that God isn't helping us or whatever. Well, there's multiple reasons why one might feel this way. First of all, God's will for us isn't always going to align with our will for ourselves. So we have to be able to learn to surrender what we want, and to know that at the end of the day, what God has planned for us is best. And we need to be able to be obedient on that, because when we act with our own free will, which is important to have, but when we use that to go against God's plan, or maybe be stubborn and not align on that, well, we're not going to be as happy if we're not on God's path. Now, not everything bad to us is our fault, though, also. So, there is sin in the world, so bad things will happen to good people. I say good people loosely, because at the end of the day, no one's truly good. But, it's what it is. But you can take comfort in God. And so here's the thing, though, is when God seems silent, it's like, well, what are we doing? What are we doing to draw closer to God? And here we go. In James 4:8, it says, draw near to God, and he will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. And I think it's important because, sometimes as Christians, we want to feel God's presence, we want God's direction, and we want this, that, and the other. But what are we doing to help get there? We expect God to just do all of it, while we just do nothing. And that's kind of a double-minded way of being like, okay, yeah, I'm a Christian, but, I'm going to do whatever I want. And I'm just going to expect God to just make my life perfect, or do things that I want him to do. But I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to try. I'm not going to try to live a life that is pleasing to God, or I'm not going to read my Bible, or I'm not going to pray, or any combination of that. And that's something I feel like last year, because I don't really like reading a whole lot unless there's pictures, like a comic book or a manga or something. And so last year, I do remember I wasn't reading the Bible that much. There were times I did, but, for the most part, I didn't read the Bible that much at all. I prayed every day, but, it was just kind of, casually. And I do notice it was a very, very difficult year for me. Last year was tough. It was one of the hardest years of my life. And I you know, there were times where I almost started to feel a little mad at God and like, why isn't God here for me? Why do I not? I just felt like God was invisible and that I just was not feeling his presence at all whatsoever. And this year I made it, you know, one of my resolutions was like, I need to read my Bible more and actually put my heart into it, you know, not just get it over with type thing. And I've been doing that. I started from the beginning at Genesis, and I was like, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to pay attention and try to actually grasp things and not just passively read and take everything based on just what I was taught. I want to actually like try to learn stuff. And I'm telling you, it has made the most massive difference. You know, nothing's perfect in my life, and sometimes I'm sad or lonely, or sometimes things happen. That's crappy. But at the end of the day, I have drawn a lot closer to God, and I know that God's there for me, and it makes me want to live a life according to God's plan. And so if something that I want in my life that doesn't pan out or whatever, at the end of the day, because I've surrendered what I want for what God wants, it's made things a lot better. It's made life a lot more livable. I will say that. And I've been a lot happier as a result. I don't know how many of y'all noticed, but this year I've been infinitely happier than I was last year. Honestly, this year I've been infinitely happier than I've been for the past, like, decade. And, you know, meanwhile, my life circumstances don't necessarily mean that I should. You know, I'm lonely sometimes, and I'm single, all this kind of stuff, and I'm 35 years old, so I'm pretty, you know, getting older to be single right now, all that kind of stuff. I still gone through some crap the past long while. But it's a heart thing, man. It's a heart thing. And so I encourage anyone who's a believer, to just truly do that. Truly surrender your own will. Surrender it to God and know that, and give it all to God. And actually put effort. Because when you think about any type of friendship or relationship, how do you expect it to be good? How do you expect to have a strong relationship with somebody or friendship with somebody if you're not putting in any effort? If you're just focusing on you and being selfish and focusing on you, and you expect your friend or your partner or whoever it may be to just always dote on you and always help you and always do things for you, but you ain't never doing nothing. You know, you have to water a plant to grow it. You have to water your relationships to grow it. And this also applies to your relationship with God. You got to put in effort too. And I'm speaking to myself on this, and something I've been learning. And yeah. So I hope that this can reach at least one person and help them out. So anyway, there we have it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Wow, this is going to be longer than I thought. Oh, well, have fun. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you, some of you, on stream tonight. So, see you tomorrow here on this channel. And until then, go boom.